Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel claims killing Hezbollah Chief Nasrallah, says Hassan Nasrallah will no longer be able to terrorize world. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar to address high-level session of 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York, meets foreign leaders on sidelines of UNGA. Support for India's claim for permanent UN Security Council seat increases after US, France, UK, Bhutan and Portugal also back India's bid. Vice President and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris visits US border with Mexico, calls for more immigration control at border. First up, news from West Asia. Israeli army on Saturday claimed that Hezbollah Chief Nasrallah has been killed. In a post on X, the Israel Defense Forces or the IDF said that Hassan Nasrallah will no longer be able to terrorize the world. The Israeli military said Hezbollah leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah was killed in an airstrike on the group's central headquarters in the southern suburbs of Beirut on Friday. Hezbollah has yet to issue any statement on the status of Nasrallah. All right, and in India, the Akshay Dongre is joining us now from New Delhi. Akshay, this is a very big news. In fact, Israel has now announced the killing of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah in a targeted airstrike in Beirut. What is the entire matter? Can you just tell us something about that?
Well, in the past few days, Israeli Defense Forces have stepped up their attacks on the Hezbollah targets across southern parts of Beirut and in different areas of Lebanon as well. Now, these airstrikes have been carried out with precision-guided ammunition along with other kind of bombings that Israel has conducted after identifying Hezbollah areas in the country is what IDF has been claiming. This recent claim is perhaps one of the biggest claim that has been made in the war between Israel and Palestine that has been going on for a year. It has now escalated into about a regional conflict. Now, the death of Hassan Nasrallah is in fact a big turning point as far as this conflict is concerned. If the claims are true and if Hassan Nasrallah is actually dead as stated by the IDF forces, then it is going to be a very big setback not only for Hezbollah in Lebanon but also Hezbollah in general, which is operating not just in the country but also in Iran and has been backed by the Iranian regime as well. Now, it is in fact quite interesting to note here that it's not just Hassan Nasrallah. His predecessor, Musawi, was also killed in an airstrike by Israel in 1992, after which Hassan Nasrallah took over as the Secretary General of Hezbollah forces. And ever since 7th October attack took place in Israel, Hassan Nasrallah has been at the forefront as far as carrying out rocket attacks against Israel. In fact, Hassan Nasrallah has been considered as the brain behind the militant group Hezbollah acquiring rockets and expanding its influence in the region. So this news of assassination of Hassan Nasrallah is in fact perhaps one of the biggest talking point as far as this conflict is concerned. Alongside with the chief of Hamas, which was also assassinated by Israel. Now, the Iranian sources are not confirming whether Hassan Nasrallah has actually been killed. Hezbollah has not issued any statement so far, but we have seen that Hezbollah, heads have been making statements again and again as far as the activities of the groups are concerned, and they are yet, it seems, to ascertain or to accept the claim that has been made by the IDF. But if it is true, then Hezbollah, as it has already been attacked with pager attacks, it has already been hit by walkie-talkie blasts and other kind of bombings that have been taken place in in the region. So it is going to be a huge setback for the group that has been operating from Lebanon against Israel since the war has started.
Definitely, Akshay, a huge setback for Hezbollah right now. But this is a big news that Hassan Nasrallah, the chief of Hezbollah, has been killed in airstrike. But no statement has been issued as of now by Hezbollah. But we leave it there. Thank you so much, Akshay. Earlier on Saturday, a series of new blasts hit Beirut's southern suburbs, sending huge clouds of smoke soaring above the densely populated area. The Israeli army also claimed that its airstrikes killed Mohammed Ali Ismail, the commander of Hezbollah's missile unit in southern Lebanon, and his deputy, as well as other senior officials. The strikes were followed by a second bombing hours later, which Israel's military said targeted Hezbollah weapons stored in buildings in the area. The Israeli army said that it would attack all strategic locations of Hezbollah, urging residents to evacuate the area.
As part of the extensive aerial operation to degrade Hezbollah's terrorist infrastructure and capabilities, we are preparing to conduct strikes on strategic assets that Hezbollah has hidden underground beneath 3 buildings in the heart of the Dahia in Beirut. Over the years, Hezbollah has developed an anti-ship missile arsenal supplied by Iran. Hezbollah has both threatened and, in the past, carried out attacks on maritime global shipping route.
Meanwhile, Hezbollah claimed that it had fired a salvo of rockets on the city of Safed in Israel, its first announced attack since Israeli strikes hit the southern suburbs of Beirut hours earlier. The Israeli army reported that 65 projectiles were detected crossing from Lebanon into northern Israel. According to Israeli paramedics, one rocket damaged a house, but no casualties were reported. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for an immediate ceasefire in Lebanon, stressing that a full-scale war must be avoided at all costs. Guterres was speaking at United Nations Security Council meeting on Friday.
War in Lebanon could lead to further escalation involving outside powers. I fully support the proposal for a temporary ceasefire, allowing for the delivery of humanitarian relief and paving the way for the resumption of serious negotiations for a durable peace across the blue line. We need this ceasefire now. We cannot afford endless negotiations as we have on Gaza. We must avoid a regional war at all costs. Gaza remains the epicenter of the violence, and Gaza is key to ending it.
Moving on, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will deliver a speech in 79th United Nations General Assembly on Saturday. Dr. Jaishankar met Foreign Minister of Singapore V. Balakrishnan on the sidelines of the UNGA. He also met Foreign Minister of Uzbekistan Bakhtiyor Saidov. The minister appreciated the progress of bilateral ties between both the countries. On the sidelines of UNGA, EAM Jaishankar met Rashid Meredov, the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Turkmenistan. Jaishankar extended greetings on Turkmenistan's National Day and discussed further expansion of India-Turkmenistan ties. Further, Dr. Jaishankar met Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Jaishankar met Lars Larke Rasmussen, the Foreign Minister of Denmark. Both leaders appreciated the positive directions of the relationship of both countries and shared perspective on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. India's External Affairs Minister also met Casper Veldkamp, the Foreign Minister of the Netherlands, and discussed strategic issues of the day. Jaishankar met Timko Musunski, the Foreign Minister of North Macedonia, at the 79th UNGA meeting. Both the leaders discussed investment, connectivity and cooperation with the region. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar chaired the BIMSTEC informal foreign ministers meeting in New York. In the meeting, India took stock of close cooperation in health, food security, trade, investment, economy and energy. The meeting also focused on improving physical, maritime and digital connectivity across the region and explored opportunities for capacity building, skill development and improving people-to-people ties. Dr. Jaishankar reaffirmed India's commitment for wider engagement with BIMSTEC in line with Neighbourhood First, Vision Sagar and Act East policy. The 79th session of the UN General Assembly is witnessing more and more countries coming forward to support India's decades-long push for a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. Bhutan's Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay has joined leaders of the US, UK, France and Portugal in voicing support for India's bid for a permanent UNSC seat. During his address at UNGA, in fact, Prime Minister Tobgay said India, with its significant economic growth and leadership in the Global South, deserves a permanent seat at the Security Council.
Bhutan has long advocated for the reform of the Security Council to make it more representative and effective. For this, India, with its significant economic growth and population and leadership of the Global South, deserves a permanent seat at the Security Council.
At UNGA address, Portugal PM Luis Montenegro also backed India's bid for being a permanent member of the UNSC.
On another front, we are in favor of reforming the United Nations Security Council to make it more representative, agile and functional. Its composition is outdated, and the absence of representatives from some regions hampers its functioning. Portugal supports the African Common Position and the aspirations of Brazil and India to become permanent members.
India once again has slammed Pakistan at a global stage. Addressing United Nations General Assembly, Indian diplomat Bhavika Mangalanandan said that Pakistan has a global reputation of terrorism, employed cross-border terrorism as a weapon against its neighbor.
A country run by the military with a global reputation for terrorism, narcotics trade, and transnational crime has had the audacity to attack the world's largest democracy. I speak about the reference to India in the speech of the Pakistani Prime Minister. As the world knows, Pakistan has long employed cross-border terrorism as a weapon against its neighbors. It has attacked our parliament, our financial capital Mumbai, marketplaces, and pilgrimage routes. The list is long. For such a country to speak about violence anywhere is hypocrisy at its worst.
Referring to Pakistan, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's speech at UNGA, India pointed out that how Pakistan is using terrorism to disrupt elections in Jammu and Kashmir.
It is even more extraordinary for a country with a history of rigged elections to talk about political choices, that too in a democracy. The real truth is that Pakistan covets our territory and in fact has continuously used terrorism to disrupt elections in Jammu and Kashmir, an inalienable and integral part of India. A reference has been made to some proposal of strategic restraint. There can be no compact with terrorism. In fact, Pakistan should realize that cross-border terrorism against India will inevitably invite consequences.
All right, campaigning is underway in full swing for the third and the final phase of assembly polls in India's Jammu and Kashmir. Polling for 40 assembly constituencies will be held on Tuesday. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a rally in Jammu today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi recalled the government's strong response to cross-border hostilities, contrasting it with the previous Congress government.
वो दौर याद कीजिए जब सीमा पार से आए दिन गोले बरसते थे, आए दिन मीडिया में ब्रेकिंग न्यूज चलती थी। एक बार फिर सीज फायर का उल्लंघन, उधर से गोलियां चलती थी और कांग्रेस वाले सफेद झंडा दिखाते थे। लेकिन जब भाजपा की सरकार ने गोली का जवाब गोले से दिया तो उधर वालों के होश ठिकाने आ गए। साथियों, आपको याद होगा आज 28 सितंबर है, साल 2016 में आज की रात 28 सितंबर की रात सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक हुई थी। भारत ने दुनिया को बता दिया था ये नया भारत है, ये घर में घुसकर मारता है।
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Former US President Donald Trump met Ukrainian President Zelensky. Play on day 2 in Kanpur test between India and Bangladesh called off due to rain.
Is foreign interference becoming the biggest threat to democracy worldwide?
Human mind is being hacked. How it is being hacked is by sowing those seeds of doubt in the leadership.
This falls in the domain of grey zone warfare, where even before the information age, there always was foreign interference in elections.
It is Cold War 2.0, force multiplied with digital technology, and then reaching out to each and every individual voter.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Former US President Donald Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday. Trump pledged to swiftly end the conflict in Ukraine if he secures a second term in office. Trump's meeting with Zelensky comes after he criticized the Ukrainian leader on the campaign trail.
So I appreciated that. So we have a very good relationship. And I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have, I see. Yeah, but you know, it takes two to tango, you know, and we're going to have a good meeting.
Donald Trump campaigned in Michigan on Friday, where he criticized Vice President Kamala Harris over immigration issues and the economy. The former president also blamed Harris and US President Joe Biden for releasing real rough people into the US, adding that the small number of jobs created were taken by illegal immigrants.
We had the best numbers we ever had 4 years ago, and now we have the worst numbers in the history of the world, not just this country. At least 21 million people came in during their term, and as we just said, a lot of them are real bad people, real rough people. But they're also taking a lot of jobs from Americans, probably happened with you. And as the small number of jobs they created were all taken by illegal immigrants in the last short period of time. And we're going to make that change. You look like it'd be great. I'd like to have you make the motor, the engine, the motor of my car any day. But unlike Kamala, who always complains and doesn't do anything, I keep saying, why don't you do?
Meanwhile, Vice President and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris visited US border with Mexico. Harris arrived in Arizona, a border town of less than 17,000 people on Friday. She walked alongside a stretch of border wall built during Obama's presidency to stop illegal immigration. In her first visit to the international boundary since becoming the Democratic presidential nominee, Harris talked with local border patrol leaders. Later, she also called for further tightening asylum restrictions. Immigration and border security are top issues in Arizona, the only battleground state that borders Mexico. Some 7 million migrants have been arrested illegally crossing the border under Harris and Biden rule, a record high number that has fueled criticism from Trump.
To reduce illegal border crossings, I will take further action to keep the border closed between ports of entry. Those who cross our borders unlawfully will be apprehended and removed and barred from re-entering for 5 years. We will pursue more severe criminal charges against repeat violators. And if someone does not make an asylum request at a legal point of entry and instead crosses our border unlawfully, they will be barred from receiving asylum.
Ukraine's Air Force shot down 69 out of 73 drones during a massive overnight Russian attack on Saturday. Russian forces also launched 2 ballistic and 2 cruise missiles during the attack. Ukrainian defenses managed to shoot down both cruise missiles. In Kiev, air defense systems were crucial, taking out around 15 drones on the city's outskirts and within its limits. The capital's military administration confirmed debris had fallen in one district, causing damage to a non-residential building. No casualties have been reported. And in the United States, the death toll from Hurricane Helene rose to at least 44 people. Hurricane caused torrential flooding across southeastern United States, hampering lives of millions of emergency responders launched massive operations to rescue people inundated in flood. Helene made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, which later weakened to a tropical storm and eventually a tropical depression. The storm has continued to wreak havoc across multiple states, knocking out power for millions of customers. National Hurricane Center has warned of flash floods in Georgia's largest city, Atlanta, as well as in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Incessant rains in Nepal have unleashed floods and landslides on Saturday. At least 10 people were killed, with 7 missing during the last 24 hours. The authorities said that most rivers in the Himalayan nation have swollen, spilling over roads and bridges, disrupting transport. Police were working to clear debris and reopen roads to traffic after landslides blocked highways at 28 locations. Many domestic flights were disrupted due to bad weather. The weather officials said heavy rains are likely to continue until Sunday morning. And let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The Marché Dauphine in France is hosting an exciting exhibition titled Swan Tells the Tale of Rock Memories, running from September 26 to November 3rd. This unique showcase highlights the vibrant comic heritage intertwined with legendary narratives of iconic rock musicians. Victoria Beckham presents her new collection at Paris Fashion Week. Models took to the runway, splurring aura, showcasing Victoria Beckham's latest Spring-Summer 2025 collection. This collection not only showcases her evolution as a designer, but also her commitment to empowering women through fashion, making a strong statement as she continues to solidify her legacy in the world of haute couture. The Crafts and Handicrafts Exhibition 2024 in Saudi Arabia showcases an exquisite handcrafted art. The exhibition works to empower craftsmen, arts and handicraftsmen by providing them with the opportunity to sell and display their creations to visitors to the exhibition. In sports, due to persistent rain, the play has been called off on day 2 of the second test between India and Bangladesh on Saturday at Green Park Stadium in Kanpur. Momin al-Haq and Mushfiqur Rahim were on 40 and 6 on Saturday. Rain forced early stumps on the opening day of the second test between India and Bangladesh at Green Park in Kanpur. Akashdeep struck twice on day 1 to reduce Bangladesh to 29-2 before visitors made a bit of recovery. R. Ashwin claimed the third wicket of Bangladesh, and Najmul Hossain Shanto led side were 107 for 3 after 35 overs when early stumps were called. A sensation in the world of music, Finnish conductor Tarmo Peltokoski is making waves as he takes the reins of the National Orchestra in Toulouse, France. Known for his dynamic conducting style and innovative programming, Peltokoski has quickly risen to prominence in France's classical music industry, captivating audiences and shape the orchestra's future and contribute to the vibrant cultural landscape of the region. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.